Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Millionaire Woman Show. I'm your host, Debra Kasowski, and today we are diving into pushing through resistance. Do you ever catch yourself resisting the things you know that you need to do that are often good for you, but you say, no way, I can do it tomorrow? Hi, I'm Debra Kasowski, and today we're going to be talking about pushing through resistance. Now, I'm going to start off with a quote by Oprah Winfrey: move with the flow. Don't fight the current. Resist nothing and let life carry you. Don't try to carry it. When we try to carry it, everything feels heavy. Everything feels like there's resistance and that we have concrete blocks on our feet, that we're not moving forward. Stephen Pressfield, the author of The War of Art, says, resistance will tell you anything to keep you from doing your work. His book has been so profound for me in learning about how resistance works and what it truly is. Now, you might be saying to yourself, I don't know if I have resistance. Resistance is fear, and it shows up in so many different forms. It shows up in procrastination, perfectionism, anxiousness, and listening to that inner critic. Just this past week, I had the most screaming inner critic come at me for something that was important to me. And it was telling me all the reasons why I shouldn't pursue it, why I wasn't good enough, why I couldn't do this or couldn't do that. Was there a little bit of perfectionism in there? Absolutely there was. Was there procrastination? Not so much. Maybe a little bit of anxiousness. But really being able to understand, where is this resistance coming from and why does it show up? Resistance often shows up when you're doing something that's important to you, something that matters. And when something matters to you, you put your heart and soul on it. Your emotions are on the line, right? So it's really about understanding where these are coming from. So when we want to push through resistance, I want to be able to give you some tools and techniques to really understand your resistance. Because the more you take time to understand and learn about your resistance, the more you're able to push through and show up as your best self without getting caught up in your inner critic. So first of all, you want to monitor your thoughts. We get 50 to 70,000 thoughts in a day, majority of them being negative. But here's the thing, we capture those thoughts and we hang on to, what do we decide we want the truth to be? And are we going to believe some of the lies that our mind also tells us as well in negativity? Now, you want to have empowering words, not discouraging ones, and being able to monitor where those things are coming from. Like, why is this showing up? It must mean that something's really important to me. On a scale of 0 to 10, where is your resistance showing up? Resistance is telling you what you must do to get that work done. And on the other side of that is glory. On the other side of that is reward. On the other side of that is victory. So you want to be able to move into being victorious by conquering the thoughts in your mind and pushing through that resistance. One thing I want to talk about is remembering that resistance is normal. The brain itself wants to protect you in 3 ways. It wants to help you avoid pain, seek pleasure, and conserve energy. And when you stretch out of your comfort zone, the brain's alerted, right? So it wants to protect you and keep you in that safe space, but safe doesn't make us grow. And resistance shows up as fear. And you need to understand this, because I don't want you to get caught up in labeling yourself and saying, well, I'm resisting, therefore I'm lazy. I'm resisting, therefore, I start things and I never finish them. Well, it means that you have an underlying fear, or you feel overwhelmed, or you're really projecting some self-doubt. So you want to be able to understand where this is all coming from. So when you're starting to monitor your thoughts, that's one thing. The other thing is giving yourself some grace. When you understand that resistance is a normal thing and everyone experiences, including myself, is that we can learn to understand it. And when you're able to give yourself grace and kindness, even forgiveness for, instead of shaming yourself for, I can't believe you are thinking that way, to really being in a place of, okay, I know what this is. This is resistance. This is important to me. And I'm not going to let it get the best of me. I'm going to say, you know what? I got this. Thank you very much, inner critic, but your job is done. And if you're anxious, that maybe you want to do a meditation or a prayer or just some deep breathing exercises to really get yourself in the space where you can have your focus on where it is that you want to go. The other thing is find your strength and your resistance. You're going to find out where you dig deeper or what skill sets come up for you when you are showing up against resistance. Is it mind over matter that you're able to shift quickly? When you start identifying where these strengths are, you're able to pull them out of that toolbox and use them, and you'll move through resistance quicker and quicker each time because you have a system that works for you. Also, action breaks down resistance. So when we have fears or resistance, for example, if we have this big goal that seems so overwhelming, that when you start breaking it down and working backwards in putting it together, that reverse engineering, you're going to know every step that you need to do moving forward. And when you move into action, this dissipates the fear. It's the antidote to fear is action. When you feel challenged with resistance, it's important to go to challenging your thoughts, challenging the thoughts of the fears. What are those fears? There's success, there's failure, there's rejection, there's embarrassment, so many different things. What are people going to think? And when you get into getting so concerned about what other people think, you lose momentum because you're projecting outward instead of looking inside of what is it that I need to do. One of the best things that you can do is really go to 5 whys. 5 whys in why am I feeling this way? What is the feeling that I'm feeling first off? Why am I feeling this way? And then come up with a solution. Why? Why is that happening? Why? Do why 5 times and you will be able to dissipate your fear into a small, that it shrinks down, that it's no longer a fear. Because you've taken the power away from the fears by questioning it. Challenge the assumptions that you're having. The other thing is we don't fear change. We fear loss of what we know to be normal. So often it's like, well, how will my life change if I have success? People, you think it's going to change so drastically that they don't want to move forward. They have that resistance. But you're forgetting that you're still in control of every choice that comes after that, every question that comes after that. And you can go through the same process and dispel those fears. Those what ifs can be, and when this happens, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And it could be also the fear of loss through failure. What do I lose if I fail? Could be money, could be time, could be credibility, could be so many different things. But on the gain side, there's so much more on growth that you get by moving forward and not being resistant to moving forward and the change in where it is. The other solution that I love that Stephen Pressfield uses is instead of being amateur, turn pro. What would a professional do? Professionals show up even when they don't feel like it. They're going to put in the work because they need to do that. They're not going to let other people's opinions influence them. They're going to stand strong on who they are. They're not going to get caught up. The amateur will push aside deadlines. It will say, I can work on this tomorrow. And it will succumb to the fears and take feedback as criticism. Whereas the professional turning pro is you're not taking it personally, but if there's some feedback in there that can benefit you, you're definitely going to take it and you're going to hang on to it and you're going to make it happen. Really thinking about how you want to show up. How do you choose to face resistance with that, that shield that you're just going to push forward and conquer those fears? And as in Nike, as I was at the movie Air Jordan and listening to the audiobook of the memoir of Phil Knight, I learned an interesting thing about the motto, just do it. And it really came from, don't let me think about it, just do it. Let's do it. And I don't have to think. So it's kind of like Mel Robbins saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just do it. Move into action. So wherever you feel resistance, give yourself that just do it mentality, that let's go after it, because you are stronger and more powerful than you give yourself credit for. It's time to push through the resistance. You got this. Push through, make it happen. Thank you for joining me here today. I'd love for you to go over to my website at www.debrakasowski.com. You're going to get your 10-page PDF called Reset Your Mindset. and you will push through resistance and develop that mindset that you will become unstoppable. As Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. And as always, go out and make today great.